Okay. Well, good afternoon. This is Brightside Global Trade TV, and I'm Elton Brewington, and this is Claire Brewington, and we are delighted to have you with us this next segment. We are pleased and honored to have our speaker and author and physician and researcher, Dr. John Poothullil. Dr. John is a well-renowned author and researcher regarding diabetes, cancer, and children with cancer. And he's written 4 books, and now the 5th book has just been added. And so we're so delighted that he's here with us. And he will share with you some health perspectives and practices that may be important or essential for you to be understand. So we are healthier. Most important that all things that you do remain healthy and like that. And so we're pleased to have you with us, Dr. John. Thank you, and please introduce yourself.
Well, I thank you for having me. As you have already done, I'm a retired physician. I got first interested in the regulation of food intake because of ongoing epidemic of obesity, which then leads to type 2 diabetes, which currently is believed to be a condition of resistance to insulin, a natural normal hormone that is produced in the body. And I disagree with that concept because it has never been scientifically validated. Just to give you an example, how can only 3 types of cells out of 200 in the body become resistant to insulin, a natural hormone? What is the reason for these 3 types of cells to select insulin, one of 50 hormones in the body? Nobody has explained a logic behind it. So any time you don't see a logic, you have to suspect there is something that's not right. It doesn't matter what part of science you are. Then about 11 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I wanted to ask the doctor, why did I get it? He said, improper diet and lack of exercise. If you go to any country in the world and ask the oncologist, what is the cause of cancer, you will get exactly the same answer, improper diet and lack of exercise. How can diet be improper all around the world? How can children get cancer because of lack of exercise? I did not understand it, so I went into deeper research to understand it, and I wrote the book, Surviving Cancer. When I was giving a talk to a group of oncologists, one doctor stood up and asked me this question. The average age of an adult with cancer is 60 plus because it takes accumulation of mutations of 6 decades to produce a cancer stem cell, whereas the average age of a child with cancer is 6. In other words, the child has not lived long enough to have mutations. So why should a child have cancer? That started me thinking, and so I produced the book, Surviving Cancer, if your child has cancer. Then I found out something very interesting. That is, most of the people, we have 120 million people in the United States diagnosed with elevated blood sugar, with almost 35 to 40 million diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Now, why if you talk to the people, then you will find out that they are taking insulin, they are keeping A1C down, but they are having complications. Why? Why is it going on like this? So I asked them, why don't you ask your doctor? Why am I still having problems? If you're resistant to an antibiotic, the doctor will not give you that. He will do something else. My own relative, she was on the insulin. She had one leg amputated in spite of taking insulin. And what did the doctor do? Increase the dose of insulin, and she got the other leg amputated. So I'm not suggesting, the treatment is wrong. What I'm suggesting is there has to be a logic. But what I found was patients are reluctant to ask their doctor because they're afraid the doctor may get upset with them because they need the doctor for everything else. So there is an information problem. Some people deliberately twist the medical information and provide it to people for their own, for the personal benefit or for some reason, whether it is political or financial, I don't know. That is disinformation, deliberate twisting of the truth. Then in type 2 diabetes, I feel it is a misinterpretation of the original evidence, and that is misinformation. Then there is missing information with regards to cancer and cardiovascular disease. Just to give you an example, everybody has heard of good cholesterol. What good does it do? Anybody has any idea? So this is the focus of my new book called Your Health is at Risk.
Yep.
Disinformation, misinformation, and missing information. How to navigate the information chaos so that you can understand, because you have to think logically. Does it make sense? Anyway, it's a long answer for your question, Mr. Elton.
No, phenomenal.
So we want to go through each book, Dr. John. So let's begin with Eat, Chew, and Live.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got that too.
Okay. So let's talk about your first book. And this is for pre-diabetics. And why is it that pre-diabetics need to be conscious that they could get diabetes and how they can prevent it?
Well, the question is, if you know, your blood glucose level is going up, why? Unless you put something in your mouth that is released as glucose in your intestine, your blood glucose level cannot go up. Now, if you use medications, you are driving the glucose away from the blood. If you take insulin, your blood glucose level goes down. Very good. Where does it go? It does not go out of the body. So how does it help? On the other hand, if you don't put that food in your mouth, do you need a medication? That is the key question that you have to ask: how to prevent weight gain, how to prevent type 2 diabetes, and complications related to that. That is the focus of the first book.
And
Now,
you can get this book at Dr. John onhealth.com. So
Yes.
make sure that we know that. So that is the first book.
Well, one thing I'd like to mention is in the book itself, Eat, Chew, Live, identifies the necessity that the average person never chews his food completely. You know, I mean, never really, and you got to masticate. I mean, you know, this sounds a little ridiculous, basically, but chewing your food is everything, you know, because it gives you better digestion and your foods go down easier, better. And you, I mean, you might think it's, I mean, but most of us eat on the go, fast. That's why I call it fast food.
Yeah.
But if we could slow down and really, really consume and masticate your food, I'm telling you, the differences for your health are amazing.
Yep.
Okay, are amazing. Like, you comment on that, Doctor?
Elton, I thank you so much for bringing that up, because that is why I put the term chew in the middle. Because if you look at it, once you stop chewing, you swallow the food.
Right.
So if the food does not require much chewing, you are likely to eat faster and you're likely to eat more.
Yeah.
And the best example is toddlers. How do they control? The toddlers decide when to eat, what to eat, how much to eat, and they grow up normally. They are their own nutritionists and dietitians.
Yeah.
If they can do that, and we have done it at that age, why can't we do it now?
Right.
Absolutely.
No, but one thing, you know, I was a skinny kid. I was a skinny kid because I had two brothers and a sister. And so, you know, and I would always eat my food slow. So whenever we would eat together, I'd always be the last one finishing, and there was nothing else left to eat. Everybody else could get 2 or 3 servings, but I'm telling you, I don't know, I got skinny by, I guess, competition. But at the end of the day, you have to chew your food adequately. Okay, next
Okay,
book.
so the second book is for people if you do unfortunately have diabetes, and this is 8 steps to reverse it. Now that's a powerful statement, Dr. John, and that I'm sure many medical experts will find it hard to find out is how can you reverse diabetes?
Well, if you believe in the concept of insulin resistance, which, as I mentioned earlier, has never been validated scientifically through logic, mechanism, or measurement, then we have a different approach. For example, in 1980s, an Australian researcher asked 10 Australian Aborigines with type 2 diabetes on oral medication to go to the bush and live like their ancestors did. In 8 weeks, they lost weight, their blood sugar became normal, and they were able to stop all their diabetic medications.
Wow.
What's the
Wow.
difference?
Yeah.
In the wild, they ate everything. Animals, birds, eggs, fish, vegetables. What they did not eat was cultivated grains because they moved from one food source to another. And the same is about Native Americans. When they were brought to the reservation in the year 1900, diabetes was practically unheard of. Cancer was unheard of. And they did not understand. But now, incidence of diabetes among those who are in reservation, if you go to Arizona, the Pima Indians, almost 50% of adults over age 35 has type 2 diabetes.
Wow. Didn't know that.
The cancer incidence is double that of white Americans in that area. Why? Because they were given plenty of grain-based foods, cheap, available, ready. And
Wow.
so that is the reason. So this is what I'm suggesting in my book, Diabetes 8 Steps. It takes, no, just one more thing I need to talk about. Most people confuse glucose control with diabetes control. They're completely different. Glucose control is only a symptom, just like if you control your fever, you're not controlling your infection. But the medical community, the instrument community, the pharmaceutical industry, and the gadget makers will make you believe all you have to do is to control your blood sugar and you're controlling the diabetes. No, in this, what you want to do is not only bring the blood sugar down, but control the illness and how it starts, how you can reverse it. And once you reverse it, you don't have to do anything else. You maintain that and blood sugar won't come back.
That's right.
I see the parallel in how you defined it. You say that by controlling your temperature, you're not controlling what causes your temperature to increase, you're just controlling your temperature. So, so by the same token, by controlling your blood sugar, won't control the deficiency that's causing it.
Unless you control it through your diet.
Right.
That's right.
I see. Right.
Now, let's go to oncology. And this is a very hard book for me because when a child has cancer, so if somebody is suffering because of their child and childhood cancer. So tell us about this book, Dr. John.
The question is, what is cancer? Cancer is uncontrolled cell multiplication. Okay? Now, what is the example of controlled multiplication? If you get a cut in the skin, then it heals. And when the healing is over, the multiplication stops. Every cell multiplication in an organ or a system is based on stem cell. Stem cell is the mother cell that produces baby cells until the need is met. But in cancer, the cells multiply not because of a need, but because of an urge to multiply. Now, the first question is, how did the cell learn to divide?
Yeah.
Where did the cell get the training from? Then you have to go back to the original cell that came on the earth. I call it the Adam cell. What forced that Adam cell to divide? Most of the evolution is based on getting, if there is a threat to life, then you want to escape. The desire to survive, the survival instinct is what caused evolution. So what was the threat that forced the original cell to divide? It cannot be external, because then the daughter cells will be exposed to the same threat.
Sure, that's true.
That means it has to be internal, inside the cell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, let me give you an example.
Mm.
The example is each one of us is the product of one single cell formed after the fertilization of the ovum
Mhm.
with the sperm or by the sperm.
Mhm.
That fertilization does not happen in the womb.
Mhm.
It happens in the fallopian tube
Mhm.
while the egg is traveling from the ovary towards the womb.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
It takes 6 days for the ovum to come to the womb. And that time it is called a zygote if it has been fertilized.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you know, by the time it reaches the womb, it has 200 cells.
Mhm.
Didn't know
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Didn't know that.
Mm.
One cell divided while traveling, not connected to the mother physically.
Becomes 200.
So where did the cell learn how to divide? What
Okay.
was the signal for that to
Oh,
divide?
wow.
Wow.
So if you could find that out, you could you could slow it down, I guess you would say, in the cancer situation.
What I'm
Yeah.
suggesting is, suppose it's that circumstance, that environment is recreated in a stem cell in the child,
Uh-huh.
then
Okay.
it can become cancerous.
I see. I
Yes.
see.
And
I
the
see.
final book is Surviving Cancer for those who survive. So that would be the same explanation that we just got. So Dr. John has written 4 books. And now tell us about the new one,
right.
because I don't have that one.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So this
Okay,
is a
this
good
is the new
health
one,
gift.
and
Yep.
it is about information.
Okay.
Because I can talk to people, but when they get most of the information from their physicians or their friends or the social media,
Mhm.
how can you compartmentalize and look at each piece of information?
Mhm.
You know, we are going through COVID.
Yes.
Okay. Every time you hear, okay, what is a pandemic? How do pandemics get started?
Mhm.
How do pandemics end? We know there have been pandemics before,
Right.
and we have a pandemic now. How will it end?
Mhm. Mhm.
So if I can give you a small example,
Yes, please.
every virus, especially the RNA virus, which is a coronavirus, is an RNA ribonucleic acid virus as against DNA viruses. Smallpox, for example, is a DNA virus.
Uh-huh.
The DNA viruses don't mutate very fast.
Okay.
Whereas the RNA virus, common flu influenza virus,
Okay, great.
coronavirus, they mutate very fast.
Okay.
What does mutation mean?
Mhm.
If you're making a dish, you have a recipe and one ingredient is missing, you substitute.
Right.
Nobody else will know what you did, because you are
Right.
the only one who knows. If the general consistency is the same, flavor is the same,
Right.
texture is the same, nobody will know.
Uh-huh.
But that is a mutation of the recipe. And this is what happens when the virus is duplicated within each person. They substitute one nucleotide. There are 30,000 nucleotides in the coronavirus, COVID-19. If one is replaced with another structurally similar, so it functions, it looks like and functions like ordinary coronavirus, that's a mutation. The vast majority of mutations make the virus weaker. So it dies down and we don't hear about it. But sometimes the mutation makes the virus evade antibodies and it spreads faster. In some other mutations, the virus becomes more virulent, more dangerous. Occasionally, a virus gets both these mutations simultaneously, and that is what happened with Delta. That is why Delta became the most dominant virus or coronavirus in the world. Now, no organism can keep on evolving at the same rate, become stronger and more nimble or able to evade. No virus can do that. For other mutation, the virus has to choose one way or another. If it becomes stronger, then it cannot evade antibodies, which we already have. That means if 70 to 80% of people have antibodies, the virus cannot find a host. It will die down. On the other hand, if it becomes more nimble, more evasive, then it cannot get stronger. It can spread further, but it becomes weaker and weaker in terms of damage. Then pockets of infection will remain in different parts of the world. And then the virus can come back to us when our antibody level goes down, and more just similar to what happens in seasonal influenza. So already we have some indications for that. We had a mu variant that did not create much havoc. Then I had Omicron. I am expecting the Omicron to do the same. It will be more spreading more, but less dangerous than Delta. If that is the case, we are on the waning part of the pandemic. But if you want to speed it up, call anybody who has not taken the vaccine, because if we have the antibodies, the virus cannot find a host. And if the virus cannot find a host, it cannot mutate.
Right. So this is an amazing time and an amazing point. I think they did confirm today, from what I understood, was that Omicron wouldn't be as contagious and less effective as what we previously considered. But tell us.
It will be contagious, but not as dangerous.
I see.
As Delta. Delta was the most dangerous. Yeah.
So wow. Now, Doctor, you just, this could, of course, your whole, battalion. You got a battalion of books that could transform people's health and their perspective of health, and understanding that the body is an amazing unit. And we're very grateful to you for your description and your understanding and that kind of thing. So, this is tell us what we need to do. The
main point is each individual has to take charge of his or her own health. Because the danger to health can come from different angles. All it takes is one trusted friend who believes in something, telling you, oh, this is what you have to do. How many times, if you are diagnosed with an infection or a cancer or something else, people are willing, they want to help you. They are sincere. But is that information? How do you assess that information? How does it make sense to you? If not, who else can you ask? You need a trusted source. Don't take my word for it. Even what I say, I'm not asking you to accept it. By the way, I don't sell anything, no supplements, no gadgets, no nothing. All I have is information. So that does not mean you have to believe what I say. Check it out, consult. Does it make sense to you? Then only you accept it.
And you should look at Dr. John's website, drjohnonhealth.com, because he has a wealth of articles, blogs, information, videos that can be helpful for you. And next year, we will be sharing this in our newsletter as well. So you will have tips every month on how to take care of your own health. Thank you, Dr. John. Does anybody have a question?
Any questions to Dr.
before
John?
I close out the segment?
This is an amazing opportunity. Any issue that you need his understanding for, he's available for description and discussion. But we all have a responsibility, and people that count on us to live amazing lives. And having great health is one of our pursuits. And not to mention that, of course, you do have to consult your physicians and understand what their perspectives are about your health. But importantly, manage your health for yourself, and understanding that, all your numbers count more and more now. You're keeping the ideal, your blood pressure, your A1C number. I guess now the doctor has a challenge with that, but you need to keep an eye on those, and eating right, getting the right amount of exercise and that kind of thing. So in that way, Yeah, it's important. Dr. John.
Well, as you mentioned, Elton, we all enjoy eating. All
Yeah.
I'm asking is enjoy more of what you eat.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Very
And
good,
please
very
subscribe
good.
to
Thank you, Dr.
Brightside
John. Appreciate that.
Global Trade.